Hey class, this is Coach E, and I am going to discuss conflict resolution today. Um, Today you will be learning. I will have the objectives on the board, and the objectives will say students will list the negative consequences of fighting. Students will define conflict resolution. Students will differentiate among problem solving, avoidance, and confrontation. Students will identify people they can ask for help with the conflict. Okay. So I will then begin to ask, who has ever gotten in a physical or verbal fight before, altercation? Um, I will ask them to show their hands, to raise their hands about it, and then I will ask the class to think about the consequences of the fight. The class was to brainstorm, and after they finish brainstorming, I would tell them to write their ideas on the board of the consequences of a fight. While they going up there to write, like they can just randomly go up to the board, but while they're going up there, I would give out examples such as like get upset or in a bad mood, lose friends, get grounded, loss of privileges, get hurt, get detention, or suspended from school. And I have found all my pictures off of Google. And I would then begin to say that nothing comes from it. Everything is bad. All the consequences are bad, so just avoid it. Okay. Trying to work things out and prevent fights is called conflict resolution. Conflict resolution meaning is, from Google, it's a process by which problems are solved without resorting to a verbal or physical fight. And I will write this whole definition on the board. So my first two objectives could be checked off, where it says we'll list the negative consequences of fighting and we'll define conflict resolution. Um, as I write this on the board, I would tell them to write this in their notebooks too, as well. Um, and then I will go again and ask the class, do they remember how many people raised their hands when I had asked if they have ever gone to a fight? Then I'll ask whether anyone resolved their disagreement without actually fighting. Hopefully, some people will raise their hand just to show the students that they did what they did to prevent them from fighting. So if they was to raise their hand, I would ask them, like, what did you do to prevent you from fighting? Like, talk things out, listen to their side of the argument, compromise, agree to disagree, or whatever. And that they should know that certain conflict styles can prevent fights from occurring, while other conflict styles can actually cause fights to occur. So I had got the definition of conflict styles from Google, which I will write on the board and I will tell them to write in their journals. Conflict style is the way a person reacts when he or she faces a problem. And there are three primary conflict styles that a person can use to resolve a conflict. Now I will ask for student volunteers to read my conflict styles. As they are reading, I will want everybody to write down the definitions and the vocabulary words, because these are vocabulary words with definitions, because they will need to know this for our activity later on. Okay. One of the primary conflict styles is problem solving. All the definitions are from Google, Okay, so problem solving is taking out your problems with the person you are disagreeing with to find a solution to your conflict. The next one is avoidance. Avoidance is not dealing with the conflict by ignoring the problem or changing what you do so you do not cross paths with the person that you are arguing with. The last one is confrontation. Confrontation is causing a verbal or a physical fight with the person you disagree with. By acting aggressively, yelling at them, getting in their face, or actually hitting them. So then I will ask to see that they comprehend what I had just said. I will ask the class when would be a good time to use problem solving. I will call on the student and they will write their answer on the board. And then I would And then I would tell them some examples of it. I would say, like, such as when the argument is caused by miscommunication, like when you are disagreeing with a friend you do not want to lose, or when you know the consequences of fighting are negative, when the argument is over something silly like rumors, when the argument is not as big as a deal, when you are not sure what you are fighting about. And then I would ask them, like, what would be a good time to use avoidance? I would do this, like, after I read each sentence so they can try to get the understanding of the actual word that I gave them. I would give them examples such as for avoidance, like when the person who wants to argue with them has been drinking or using drugs. When the person who wants to argue with them is irrational. When the person who wants to argue with them has a weapon or something. Or when the person who wants to argue with them has a gang of friends to back them up. And then lastly, after I read confrontation, I would ask them, like, when what would be a good time to use confrontation. I will call on them and I'll tell them to write their answers on the board. And while they write their answers, I will also say, give them examples such as I did the other two. I would say, like, when defending yourself if someone starts to fight, when your civil rights are being violated, such as segregation, your women's rights or whatever. Um, but there are different ways to solve a conflict. Different conflict styles should be used in different situations. The best conflict style to use in most situations is problem solving, which is talking out your problems with the person you are disagreeing with to find a solution to your conflict. When would be a good time to use problem solving? Um, when arguments caused by miscommunication, when you are disagreeing with a friend you don't want to lose. I just said basically all of that. My notes are going faster than me. Um, different, like I said, different situations for different conflict styles. Okay, and now we will apply and analyze. This is where the teamwork comes in now. The group project or whatever. Who is your... In, let me see. Wait 1 second. I have to go back. Okay. Okay, so then I will tell the class that since they have reviewed the conflict styles, they will have a chance to apply and analyze the conflict styles with partners. So I would divide the class into pairs and distribute the how does the scenario end worksheet to each student. And I would give the pairs a few minutes to complete the worksheet. Okay, so I couldn't get this worksheet to get on here. So give me 1 second. Okay, well, my worksheet's not popping up. Okay, so my worksheet's not popping up, but soon as I will try to send a picture with my link with this so you can see the worksheet. But the worksheet should take at least about 10 minutes to finish and complete. They will be paired up in partners, no groups of more than 2. And then they will share their responses to the scenarios. I will discuss the first scenario with the whole class and I will give them the answer to it. And then after that, the last few they will have to do on their own. So then I would ask, are these scenarios realistic? Like, have things like this ever happened to you or the people you know? And I would let it be open discussion without the whole class, and I would ask them like, what actually happened in the situation, to get to know more about it, and so for people that don't know about it, they can get an insight on the situation. I would also ask like, what are the best conflict styles to use in each scenario? And I already discussed the best conflicts. The best conflict style is problem solving. I was just gonna see what did they understand, or was they listening to me when I gave them the answer. What are the consequences of using the other conflict styles, such as like if you was to try to use confrontation with a gang of people coming up to you, like that's you should not use that. You should try either problem solving or walking away. Um, Kids cannot always deal with their conflicts on their own. Sometimes they need to ask other people for help. So with that being said, my next slide say, who is your go-to for help with a conflict? And I will have everybody write down a piece of paper, and I will have 5 people discuss with me like who they put. Um, I would first say like the examples are like parents, teachers, spiritual advisors, guidance counselors, family members, a police officer, anything. And hopefully some people would put names on it, such as their mother, father, grandmother, all that. So then I will go on to say, after they discussed it and told me, and 5 people told me, I randomly picked 5 people and they told me who they go to for help. I would start to say, when are sometimes when a person might need help from other people? Group discussion with that. Can you ask anyone for help? How do you know who is a good person to ask for help? I will let them have a group discussion on that, and I will put my input on it and say, if you can trust that person, that's a good person to ask for help. My next question would be, could different people be better helpers in different situations? And I would ask for examples for whoever answer that for me. After we conclude that discussion, I will tell them that it is important to identify who you can go to for help ahead of time. That way, when you are really in trouble, you don't have to think about who you can ask. You already know. Okay, so in conclusion, we have we have concluded the few definitions that we have went over. Let me go back to the slideshows. Uh-oh. Zoomed in on accident. Okay, let me just go back. Okay. Uh-oh. So we had conflict resolution. conflict style. Come on. Problem solving, avoidance, and confrontation are the three branches from conflict style. We all get into disagreements, arguments, and conflicts, but those conflicts do not have to end up in verbal or physical fights. When students are faced with conflict, they can choose to use whatever conflict style they wish. However, if students think calmly and logically, they will admit that problem solving is usually the best advice. Most of the time, problem solving can help solve a disagreement and prevent it from escalating to a full-blown fight. If a student is having a conflict with another person needs help, there are many people and places they can go to for help because they are not alone. Okay, so with the notes that y'all took, in a participation in the class, you got points for that. Okay, and yeah, I will have these pictures and I will point at them and I'll tell them like, what was this talking about? Because the pictures match the same pictures from the whole slideshow. Like the first one is when I was discussing conflict resolution and stuff, and the third one is conflict styles. Okay, so then I will click over to my next slideshow, and it's quiz time. So, are you smarter than a fifth grader? So, let me exit out of there and go to my Kahoot. And with my Kahoot, I'm going to play against myself. Okay, my pen is 450, 3520, and I'm going to put that I'm 1 out of 13 students. Okay. If a bully is approaching you with his gang, which conflict style would you use? You wouldn't use confrontation. So what would you use? You wouldn't fight. You wouldn't problem solve. Your best bet is avoidance. Okay, I gave you the first one. So I'm gonna let you get the next one. Not dealing with the conflict by ignoring the problem is problem solving. Correct. False. Causing a verbal or physical fight is problem solving. Correct. The answer is false. What are not consequences of fighting? Correct. Either or, appraisal or get out of jail free card is not a consequence of fighting. Blackout, detention, suspension, all that are consequences. Consequences are the bad things, and that is of fighting. Nothing good comes from fighting. A process by which problems are solved without resorting to a physical or verbal fight. That definition is, and I kind of gave you the answer within the picture. So, yes, conflict resolution is the answer. The way a person reacts when he or she faces a problem is correct. Conflict style. Conflict style is it has 3 categories underneath it, which was problem solving, avoidance, and confrontation. True or false? When the argument is caused by miscommunication, problem solving is good to you. It's true. Whenever you have miscommunications between somebody, just try to problem solve so you can get the understanding of the other person's point of view. Okay, when someone has a weapon, confrontation is the best conflict style. Right. No, run the other way. You cannot you cannot use a conflict style, which is confrontation, avoidance. Well, yeah, you could use avoidance, but nor problem solving. Like, you can't talk to somebody when they have a weapon because no telling what they are willing to do with that weapon. So don't put your life in danger trying to use a conflict style to resolve a confrontation. Okay, number 9. Is a confrontation always a bad thing? No. Confrontation is not always a bad thing. Confrontation is also a good thing. Like, it's always good to have that understanding, like why are you being so mean to me? That's a confrontation. Like, you're confronting the problem heads on. The next one will be, how many confrontation styles did you learn? And I put this cat face on here because I don't want to get embarrassed today, because I clearly went over conflict styles and not confrontation styles. So I was hoping that everybody would select the right answer, which is none. And the last question, which is a bonus question that everybody should get right. And I added this clip on here because it's funny. But all of them are right except for green, because my name is Coach E, Coach F, or you can call me Coach Ebony. And that's the conclusion of my class today. Apparently, we are smarter than a 5th grader. So, that concludes it all.